people who have built entire worlds out of necessity, out of nothing, knowing that you no longer have access is something that can leave you quite vulnerable. My name is Tao Lewis, and I'm an artist. I construct almost exclusively out of either donated or found or recycled materials, but all of those things fall under this category of things that have kind of had a home or a life prior to my repurposing them. I like that objects carry affective histories, emotion, scent. The things that I make come mostly from the imaginary, but they are sort of rooted in our world through the, I guess, familiar objects that they're constructed from. Because I'm often working with a figure, a lot of the time I'm referencing people in my life, thinking a lot about real and also imagined places and ancestors and stories, entities. I'm trying to honor them and have conversations with them. I like to think of the things that I make as encompassing mainly geographies, Black geographies, whether they're real or imagined. They are referencing places and also made out of materials that are directly reflecting these places because of how I collect and archive things. My mom used to be very interested in painting. She's much like me in that she is really interested in found objects and artworks. Our house was kind of covered floor to ceiling in different paintings, tiles, collected and found things. When I think back to growing up in her house, it kind of helps me to understand value systems, and it helps me to navigate the way that the world prescribes value. I grew up between here and the Caribbean. I think I consumed and digested a lot of different color and vibrancy and texture visually growing up.
When I look at Tao's work, I see so many things. For example, I have nostalgic feelings of what it was like for me growing up in the UK, of course, but also like in Nigeria, and seeing the different elements that she pins and points into her work really kind of hit home for me. At the time, I created a collection called Roots to Grow. It was inspired by the Egun people in Nigeria, which are these masquerades that take everyday items in order to create these elaborate costumes that I felt were a form of performance art, because they don these amazing costumes and they kind of like dance down the road, and there's a whole like festival about it. And I felt like Tao's work kind of reminded me of that.
The common thread in all of my work, no pun intended, is that I often take a piece of fabric or a material component from the last work and incorporate it into the new work. There's a certain kind of like fluidity maybe, or quite literally the motion, something like hand sewing or a repetitive gesture that then becomes very fluid and therapeutic. My hands are my biggest tool in terms of construction.
Craftsmanship is such a big play. For example, one of the things that I love about your pieces is that, you know, when you look closely, you can see the hand stitching. And me, like, people don't even realize that there's a lot of hand stitching on Winnie that I do personally, like padding stitches or like just different stitches for the suits and stuff. Like, I kind of trust no one but myself to kind of do it. And it's also a form of therapy for me in a way, where I just kind of, that repetition of that sort of stitch kind of takes me into a different place within my mind, and it's just a way for me to sort of unwind. As a designer, I've always said that I feel like art is inspired by life and design is inspired by art. One of the greatest things about collaborating or speaking or being inspired by an artist or someone before creating is that it's always a learning exercise. Even though you are creating, you're creating through what you've learned, you're creating through what you have kind of taken in order for you to create that output.
Our through line, our common thing that's connecting us is this kind of affinity for the material and an affinity for the labor and the craftsmanship. And I think that, you know, getting to be at the intersection of these two worlds together is going to be really, hopefully, eye-opening for me.
And so what you'll see within the collection is that you'll see like garments that are quilted together with different fabrications. It'll be a blazer, and then I have like 4 or 5 different fabrications, but they're different textures and shades. A lot of her work was playing with the sense of proportion, and so I tried to play with the anatomy of pieces as well. Within the collection, you'll see things where I've sort of cut myself or, you know, kind of disproportionated the body of it in order to kind of get a sense of her work. She does different types of stitches, and she kind of has that craftsmanship point, and so I wanted to touch on that craftsmanship point as well. You'll see things like hand-stitched padding stitches inside of the suiting, or hand-stitched pitch stitches on the lapels, or cross stitches on certain sweaters and different things like that I just felt exuded her sort of aura. And the idea of the message that I want the collaboration to send is, it's to shed light on Tao's message, which is an idea of togetherness and being, and one paying ode to, you know, their roots of being Black and living in this world, and paying ode to the Black diaspora.
One of the reasons why I'm really kind of excited about this collaboration is because I never want to limit myself. I want to continue to be an artist and a maker, but I don't want to limit the ways in which I'm doing that. So because I kind of have this affinity for, I guess you could say, like the human-esque figure, it's something that's come up not just for me, but for viewers of my work, is when am I going to, you know, fully step into the idea of producing garments or designing garments, and this question of, you know, what would it feel like to have somebody wear my art